You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 185.1, our daily update on high school, college, and professional sports news in Central Indiana. Anything that may be of interest to Central Indiana sports fans.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you've chosen to listen to the Central Indiana Sports Report. So happy to have you along. Today is February 22nd, 2025. It's a Saturday, so it's another day for the Central Indiana Sports Report. I'm your host, Greg Mengelt, and I love Central Indiana sports. Coming to you today from Stage 22 in Elwood, Indiana. Producer Susie is in the control room in Jeffersonville, Indiana. Welcome to the podcast my father once called Pretty Entertaining. You have no idea how big of a compliment that was, so now I guess I have to be pretty entertaining. Coming up, we had a full night of high school boys basketball with scores and highlights of the local games, some regionally and some significant state scores, and some results from the high school wrestling state finals and IU Ball State and Purdue baseball and softball. Before we get to that, please go subscribe to our channel at YouTube. We want to start doing a lot of videos and stuff, but we need to get more subscribers there so we can justify putting all that work in. So please go subscribe to our channel. Just search Central Indiana Sports Report. It's very easy to find. Coming up on Sunday night, we are going to have our boys basketball sectional draw special with Michelle Garman. Michelle and I will watch the draw like everybody else and then have our reactions. We will post our reactions to each local sectional immediately after the draw is completed. And then we will talk to a bunch of coaches, and in the morning, we will have a full show for you, hours and hours talking boys high school basketball draw with Michelle Garman and others. Plus, I believe we have 6, 7, or 8 coaches lined up to talk to on Sunday night. So you are going to want to tune in. And we will be back on our original schedule starting Sunday morning. I know I've been saying that for a few days, and I have not gotten back to my original schedule, but I've been playing catch up. But I think now we're good. I'm even staying in Elwood this weekend to make sure I'm all caught up and ready to go for the sectional draw on Sunday night, then the final week of the boys basketball season next week. And I really miss producer Susie.
All right, just get over it.
And it does my heart so good to know how much she misses me too. The Western Panthers claim the Hoosier Conference Championship on Friday, continuing an incredible bounce back season with a 54-50 win over West Lafayette on Saturday. Incredible job by Coach Bennington and his guys this year. Producer Susie is the perfect wife for a guy with a giant ego, by the way. Hamilton Heights blew past Twin Lakes 73-41 for third place in the Hoosier Conference. Gavin Saunders had 24 points and 5 rebounds in the win. Tipton finished 5th after beating Benton Central 52-40. Grady Carpenter led the Blue Devils like he always does with 21 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds. He also had 2 block shots. Peyton Aller added 12 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 steals in Tipton's 15th win of the season. The big news in the win, of course, is that it was the 600th career win for Tipton head coach Cliff Hawkins. Between DeKalb, by the way, when I was at the Fort Wayne News Sentinel covering his DeKalb teams, and then he went to Center Grove and then Madison, and then I was at the Jeffersonville Evening News and New Albany Tribune and covering those teams, and then he went to North Miami and Tipton, and now I've followed him here. Wherever Cliff Hawkins goes, that's apparently where I go. And it's been really great covering his teams over the years. Congratulations to Coach Hawkins. Michelle Garment of the Tipton Tribune talked to Coach Hawkins after the win on Friday night.
I've always said success is a journey, it's not a destination. You have to stay on the journey, no matter how good you are or how poorly you're playing. You have to stay on the journey. You have to withstand, the wins and the losses and all of that. But the beauty of the whole thing, it's not about the problems that you encounter maybe along the way. The beauty is the knowing that you've worked with so many great kids and coaches and administration, and that's what it is. And to become one of 20, I was looking at that list not long ago, and I looked at that, and I looked at 17 of, I guess I'm the 20th, but 17 of those guys I have personally visited with, over the years, where I went to learn how to be a coach. They might only had 300 or 400 wins at the time, but I went to see them. I've always been a network guy that way, trying to learn the game from the best. And, we carried right on through in this quest, and we got to join a club of not very many people.
We've had 2 area coaches this year get to 600 wins, which is incredible. Also, of course, Jerry Baumholt earlier this year did it for Jay County. Coach Hawkins and Coach Baumholt are both legends. Also in the Hoosier Conference tournament, Central Catholic finished 7th with a 52-49 win over Logansport. We go to the CIC where Oak Hill beat Elwood 58-28 to clinch a share of its 10th CIC championship on Friday. All of those have come in the last 18 years. It was also the 299th head coaching win for Oak Hill legend Kevin Renbarger. Jace Tonigal led the Eagles with 17 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. Frankton won its 9th game in a row and avenged last year's upset loss with a 41-36 win over Alexandria. Trey Bennett had 21 of the Eagles' 41 points. 17 of those came in the first half. Bodie Judge scored 13 of his game-high 26 points in the first quarter of LaPel's 68-31 win at Madison Grant. It's the 11th straight win for the 17-5 and 10th ranked Bulldogs. And Eastbrook retained the horseshoe and the keg and avenged their Grant 4 championship loss with a 48-44 win over Mississinewa. It's the 6th straight win for Eastbrook, including wins over 2 of the CIC's top teams in the Indians and co-champion Blackford in their last CIC game, or else Blackford wouldn't be co-champion. They'd have had the title outright. That team is playing really well. Jaden Younts had 16 points to lead the Panthers. Speaking of playing really well, Class A number 5 Clinton Prairie looks like one of the best Class A teams in the state. They won at least a share of the Hoosier Heartland Championship with a 68-34 home win over Tri-Central. It's the 10th straight win for the 18-2 Gophers. And Carroll kept its co-championship hopes alive with a big 48-29 win over Taylor. The Cougars need to win at Eastern next Friday to claim a share of the HHC. And it doesn't seem like that's going to be as easy as maybe we would have thought it would have been a few weeks ago. That's because Colton Lindsay and the Comets are starting to play really well after starting the season seemingly behind the 8 ball for the first couple of months. Eastern won 70-56 at Lakeland Christian Friday for their 4th consecutive win. They're at Madison Grant tonight. And Sheridan is 15-5 after a 67-57 win over Edinburgh. The Blackhawks led 27-7 after the first quarter. Trey Page and Donald Winston scored 18 points apiece for Sheridan, and Caleb Wright and Devin Hamilton had 14 points apiece. Edinburgh's Connor Ramey went over 1,000 points for his career in the loss. It was a big championship night on Friday. Same for the Anderson Indians. The 5th-ranked Indians won their 20th game of the season and clinched the North Central Conference Championship with an 84-68 win over Kokomo. Damian King continued his incredibly hot play with 32 points and 10 rebounds. The 15-6 Wildcats were led by 21 points from senior Zion Bellamy. Lebanon beat Marion 60-56 behind 29 points from Caden Lark, who also became a 1,000-point scorer on Friday. Tim Jones led Marion with 15 points. Also in the North Central Conference, Lafayette Jeff finished second in the conference by beating Richmond 64-36. In a matchup of the HHC's two other elite teams, other than conference champion Greenfield Central, Mount Vernon knocked off 3A number 4 New Palestine 71-59 behind 26 points from Luke Ertl. Julius Jeezy had 30 points for the Dragons. Shelbyville won its 17th game of the season, 48-41 over Delta. And speaking of Greenfield Central, the 4th-ranked Cougars rebounded from a loss to Lawrence Central for an 83-46 win over East Central on Friday. The Cougars had 53 points in the first half and made 16 three-pointers on the night. Braylon Mullins finished with 26 points. Man, what a sectional that's going to be. Greenfield, Anderson, Mount Vernon, and they're not the only good teams in that. Make sure you tune in to the Central Indiana Sports Report on Sunday night. The performance of the night came from Anderson Prep's Lincoln Fathauer in the Jets' 85-27 win over Indiana Def. Fathauer had a school record 44 points, despite playing very little of the second half. He had 21 points in the first quarter and 34 points at halftime. He made 7 of his 9 three-point attempts and was 18 for 24 from the field. It's the school record 7th win in a row for Anderson Prep. Liberty Christian is 13-8 after beating Waldron 55-52 at home. Class 2A number 2 Wapahani won its 20th game of the season and clinched at least a share of the Mid-Eastern Conference with a 79-39 win over Daleville. Nate Luce scored 32, and Brock Zickgraf and Camden Bell had 17 points apiece in the win. Monroe Central beat Cowan 75-50. Easton Foster finished with 22 points. And Josiah Love became Westell's all-time leading scorer in the Warriors' 56-48 win over Blue River. He finished with 33 points and now is over 1,250 for his career. Maconaquah won the Three Rivers Conference Championship with a 75-70 overtime win against 2A number 3 Manchester, the Squires' first loss since their second game of the season. Some scores of interest from around the region and around the state. 4A number 1 Fishers remains unbeaten after a 56-50 win over Zionsville, and the basketball in the counties surrounding Indianapolis, absolutely insane this year, how good they've been. 4A number 3 Westfield, speaking of which, won 53-37 at Franklin Central. 4A number 10 Noblesville earned a big 49-46 win over 4A number 2 Avon. 3A number 2 Cathedral beat 4A number 11 Ben Davis 66-53. 4A number 9 Lawrence North won 62-56 at Pike. And 4A number 7 Jeffersonville beat number 15 Evansville Rights 74-27. If there's one team that can be as competitive with the teams around here in Hamilton County, it's going to be Jeffersonville. They've got the talent. They're just now rounding into full health, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens because they might just have a path to make a long run. It is one of my favorite programs in the state. New Albany, too, by the way. So much fun covering those basketball programs over the years. In local wrestling, what a night it was for the Delta Eagles. All 5 of their wrestlers advanced to Saturday's quarterfinal round. Reed Wicker, Cade Jackson, Aiden Bullinger, Sam Mosier, and Cabe Stevens. They're all going to be wrestling on Saturday. Hamilton Heights' Michael Kane and Cowan's Jackson Bradley will also wrestle for state championships on Saturday. The team score after the opening round, Brownsburg is up huge over Center Grove and Crown Point. The Bulldogs are going to win their back-to-back state championships for the first time in program history on Saturday. And we'll have all the results on Sunday's Central Indiana Sports Report. Same for boys swimming sectionals that are Saturday at Jay County, Carmel, and Hamilton Southeastern. And we'll tell you what went on around the state in boys swimming as well. To college softball, IU is 9-1 with 9 wins in a row after Friday's 3-0 win over UIC in Lubbock, Texas. Janae Berry and Brianna Copeland combined on the shutout. Berry surrendered just 4 hits in 6 innings. Ball State is 5-1 after a split doubleheader sweep of Lehigh and Albany in the Charlotte Invitational. The Cardinals will face Lehigh again on Saturday and then Charlotte later in the day. Purdue baseball is 5-0 after beating Niagara 6-4, and they play Niagara again on Saturday. And after Ball State took game 1 on Thursday in Sacramento, host Sacramento State took both games on Saturday against the Cardinals 6-5 and 2-0. And Gavin Ballius was 4 for 4 with an RBI in game 1 for the Cardinals. And now you know everything we know about Central Indiana sports. Thanks for listening. Please tell a friend about the Central Indiana Sports Report. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.